Um, I started, I diverted from real estate for about 13 years because I was focusing on my tea company, which is doing well. But right now I want to get back into real estate, and my goal is to be. I'm with EXP Realty, but my goal is to be able to be more confident, comfortable, and to master, or at least learn the scripts so that I can kind of get those listing presentations like everyone else.
Very good. Very good and very achievable. So that's a good goal you put in front of you, and we'll attack it. Right. Very good. Welcome. Let's bring up now Michael.
Speaking of me, because I don't know if there's more.
Yes.
Mike. Hi, I'm Mike Kalani. I'm in Washington, D.C. I'm presently not in real estate. I was in it for like 2 years back in like mid 2015, 16, but I got out of it because I had an opportunity to come along in construction. And now I'm a project manager, but I'm bored with that. And I really want to tackle real estate as far as sales. I want to become the best I can be. And I found you just on YouTube, seeing group 26 videos you produced, and I liked your message, and I want to sign up and learn from you because I see what you've done, and I want to copy what you do and mimic what you do and make myself a top agent.
Very good. All right, so you came to the right place, and we'll bring you there. It's a process. It's a process. What you're doing right now, by the way, can be also built together with being a top producer. You can do both, but you really need to have your hands-on experience as a listing agent before you start really experiencing your value, what you bring to the table, and how to improve on that. Very good. Thanks for sharing. All right, next that I see here, let's go to Selena. You're muted. Unmute yourself.
Sorry. My name is Selena Lemos. I'm in Rhode Island. I also do Massachusetts. I've been in the business for almost 8 years. Three of those years full-time. So the first 4-ish was part-time. I'm here to learn more. Last year I did about 50 listings and buyers, but I'm a little tired of running around buyers. Okay. And it's tiring, it's frustrating. And I never followed a script for my listing appointments. Like you say, I always wing it. Maybe now it's time to learn a script and follow a script so I can just save time. It's not that I wasn't getting successful winging it, but I want a lot more listings than buyers. I want to do about 80% listings and then the rest buyers, because it's just very frustrating.
All right, I'm going to add one question for everyone as we go along. And the question is on a scale of 1 to 10, okay, 10 being an ideal presentation in your opinion, which number are you at right now? So you're saying that you're winging it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. For you, number 10 is over there, right? Right now you're here. So what is it? What does it look like to be at number 10?
What does it look like to be a number 10?
Yep.
Looks good.
First of all, where are you now? Which number?
Oh, you mean on the listing presentation?
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1, you suck, 10, it's the best presentation you can ever do. Where are you?
Oh, I don't have any, I don't follow any presentation, so I suck.
Okay, so that's where you're at. Very good.
Yeah.
I don't believe you suck because you're getting listings. I mean, last year you did what, 25 transactions, of which at least 50% was listing? 29. So you got about 15 listings, more or less?
yeah, it was about 50-50 buyers
Okay.
and listings.
Yeah. So you don't suck. You're obviously getting listings. You're doing something right, but you feel as if you're going to do something that is more scripted and planned, you will be able to do it quicker, which is absolutely one of the main reasons of doing this course. You want to get a presentation done in 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? And then you can leave, and then you can start schmoozing if you want, but get your presentation done with first, you know? So we'll talk about that. Very good. All right. Let's go to Amanda.
Hello, good morning. My name is Yamanda Perez. I am working with Circle 100 Real Estate Brokerage at Rhode Island, and I have been real estate agent for 2 years. And the questions where, well, accomplishing this course, I would like to feel comfortable and confident that I can kind of get in and just walk away with a listing. But most of everything, I would like to handle the objections. That's one of my goals with this course. And a 1 to 10 on my presentations, I would say I'm like a 4 or 3. And yeah, and part of the what I'm expecting, it's get out of my comfort zone, because I usually work most with buyers. Most of my transactions are buyer. And I've been like, okay, I'm good over here, so I don't look over there. Just avoiding the studying part and all these things, but yes.
Right. Okay. Very good. On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you now?
Is that like a 3?
All right. Very good. Carlos?
Hey everybody, my name is Carlos Almeida. I've been in the business 19 years now, almost 20 years this year. With Circle 100, I'm the broker for the office, practicing in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. I have a lot of experience in a lot of different areas of real estate, as an investor, flipper, getting into new construction, as an agent. So I know a lot about a lot of things, but I don't, perceive myself as an expert in everything. You're always learning in this business. My main reason for attending this course is more of a refresher. I think I'd probably, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm around a 6 or a 7. I do a pretty good job overcoming objections, but I like to be a little more structured. So I think this will help me become more structured in my presentations. I do wing it a little bit, and I think it's better if I just, follow a script. It makes it easier to, talk to people and help overcome certain objections, because the script will answer some of the questions that they may have.
Absolutely. That's really what the presentation is all about. Answering all their questions and then go for the signature. Yep. Perfect. All right. Stephen DeLong.
Hello all, good morning. My name is Stephen DeLong, like Ron mentioned, a brand new licensee. And then my goal from this course is to be able to do this with confidence and to be competent with it. And then I also want to be fluent. I want to know what it is I need to talk about precisely and what I should avoid.
All right. Very good. Wilfredo?
Will Hernandez. I've been in the real estate business for about 10 years now. The first 6 was in property management. The last 4 has been as a realtor agent. My main goal for this is creating structure and getting comfortable with going from number 1 and then 10 and just keeping things orderly when talking to when presenting to a possible seller. And I'm just taking away and handling objections. That's the main thing I want to get to accomplish here.
Okay. Very good. Raziel.
Hi, everybody. My name is Raziel Rodriguez. I've been in the business for 6 months. I have my license in Rhode Island and Mass. The biggest takeaways for me is to be able to do a listing presentation confidently, but also to get from A to Z without like staring off the course too much, and to be able to handle objections and have like that counter point where I could, you know, anytime they have a question or some like a negative thing, I could come back with something and, you know, steer it back to where it needs to go.
Okay,
And
very
on
good.
my scale from 1 to 10, I'd say a 1 because I've never done a sales listing presentation.
All right, fair enough. Julie.
Hi, good morning. My name is Julie. I currently work as a VA in the market of Missouri. I do plan on getting my license during the summer. What I want to take away from this course is knowledge. Everything that I can learn, I think will be helpful to me. And on your scale, I'd be a 1 because I've never done a listing.
Obviously. Okay, well, look, at the beginning stage, when you're thinking about, look, situating yourself for success, making sure that you are becoming successful, accumulating skills is the first thing you need to focus on. When you have the skills, you're going to convert. Generating leads is also requiring a lot of skills, but you can also buy leads. Okay, many agents buy leads. You don't need to, like, if you're buying leads, you don't really need to have the skills of generating leads, but you do need the skills to convert. Converting leads is what it's all about. So when you do that at the beginning stage of your career, you're focusing on it. It is so important. It's unbelievable how important it is. I know an agent, I actually coached an agent who for 9 months didn't take any action. Just studying, role-playing. I'm talking about daily role-play practice. He would spend 2, 3, 4 hours a day just role-playing and taking different, you know, agents in the office. I saw him role-playing with so many different people that he became an expert of handling objections before he ever did a deal. His first year, he closed over 35 transactions just in his first year. So it's very important that you're focusing and you're investing time in building skills right now. So congratulations. Sebastian.
Hi, Ran. Thanks for putting this together. So I work in Miami. I've been in real estate for 9 years, all in home building. So I've represented a seller. What I plan to take away from this course is putting together a proper listing presentation. Never done one before, so I'd say I'm at a 1.
Okay. Very good. Thanks for sharing. Keishel.
Hello, I've been in the business for a year. I'm a mass agent with Circle 100. My goal is to just master the listing presentation so that I can get more listings. And from a scale from 1 to 10, I'd say probably a 3.
Okay. All right. What we got here? We got, okay, Lisette Guzman.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Lisette Guzman. I'm in Rhode Island. I'm with Circle 100, and I've been in business for 3 years. Well, back in the business for 3 years, working as a full-time real estate agent. And I prefer to work with sellers. So that's why I want to master the listing presentation, because I do wing it big time.
Okay, so in other words, you want to focus only on getting listings.
Yes, I want to be able to get a buyer's agent to work with my deals and do my listing, just listing.
Okay, James, she just gave you the answer why I never trained you to get listings. Right? All right. Let's go down to Suzanne Wolf.
Hi, how are you today?
Very good.
Oh, good. I'm getting ready to go today, so I'm sorry I'm not on video.
Okay.
Anyway, so I'm a broker owner in Missouri. Actually, Julie and Haley's on my team. And so I've never taken a listing presentation like training. I've been in the business almost 22 years. And so I wing everything. And I would really like to have a structured deal because I do fairly well on my listing ratios, but I would really like to be able to make an effective presentation, not forget things, and think about later what I could have said because I need something to follow. We all do.
All right.
So I need to sharpen those skills. Yeah, but I'd say on a scale from 1 to 10, I'm maybe a 6 or 7, maybe.
Okay, that's good. I want to actually ask you this question at the end of the course, and maybe you could tell us again if you feel that you were at 6 when I asked you that question.
Okay, gotcha.
All right.
Okay.
Because, hey, sometimes we think we're at a certain level, and then once we discover a different level, we're like, dude, I was not there, I'm here. So and hopefully that's going to be your experience by the end of the 6 weeks. Remember, guys, it's very important for you to stick to it. You know, being consistent is I would say being consistent is probably one of the top 3 things that you need to acquire if you want to be a top producer, not just in real estate, like if you want to be, you know, at high performance levels with your life. If you want to master your life, you need to be consistent. So we're going to talk a lot about that. And I want to see that you guys showing up to all the sessions throughout this, you know, 6 weeks. It's not a lot of commitment. We're talking 2 hours, you know, every morning on Tuesdays. I believe that the majority of you will be able to be here the entire time. And I hope that all will make it. All right, let's hear from Haley.
Hi, everybody. Sorry, my thing's not wanting to connect. My name is Haley. I'm a brand new licensee. I've been licensed for about 3 weeks, and I've not done a listing or anything like that yet, so I'm here to learn.
Very congratulations on your license.
Thank you.
Very good. So Suzanne, you're building a team?
No, I've had a team for like 7 years.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. It's nice of you to bring them here.
Thank you.
Very important. Very important. All right, let's go to Glenda.
Hi, I'm Glenda Pagan. I'm with Circle 100 Real Estate in Rhode Island, and I've been in the business for 5 years. And I'm here to actually get structure with the listing presentation. I've had listings before, but it was always from an investor, so I really never did a proper presentation. And in a scale of 1 to 10, I think I'm at like a 2.
Okay. All right. Honesty is important. All right, Teresa.
Hi everyone, my name is Teresa Guava. I've actually been licensed since 2016, so that's about 6 years. But I was working like less than part-time for most of that time, and I've really been a full-time agent for 2 years now. Since the beginning of 2020. As far as from 1 to 10, my listing presentation skills, I would say a 4. I wing it, but I also have like some sort of structure that I kind of like made up in my head. So it seems to go well most of the time, but maybe that's just me because I've only gotten 1 listing. I only got one listing last year. So that's that. And then the reason why I'm here is because I think I've realized I'm in a process of reinventing myself, and I'm trying to figure out what type of agent I'm really going to be. And something I had an epiphany that I want to go after like high-end luxury listings, because I think that would be more inspiring to me. And obviously you make more money and you'd be easy. It'll be easier to like resource my business. So that's my thing.
All right, very good. Let's go to Rose.
Hello, my name is Rose. I'm an agent with Circle 100. I'm a brand new licensee for about 6 months now. I'm currently in the middle of listing a property, so this would be beneficial to me right now more than ever, and then obviously in the future would be very beneficial to me. One of my goals is to become a Circle 100 listing rock star like everyone else.
Okay. You came to the right place, girl. All right, very good. Let's see. You got Shirley.
Good morning. I'm trying to start the video with saying it's unable to access, but hopefully you can hear me. Can you?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Shirley Charles. I've been in the business for 3 years. I am a Circle 100 agent. My goal for joining is to becoming a listing agent. Part of the reason why I joined the business is to have say over my time and structure my life. And I find that working with buyers, I'm not able to do that as well as I would like to. So to go in that direction, I would like to really master my listing presentation and mostly take on listings. From on a scale of 0 to 10 or 1 to 10, I would say I'm a 1 just because I haven't done any listing presentations.
Right. But you will.
Yes, I will.
All right. Very good. Joyce Mar.
Hey everyone, my name is Joyce Mar. I am.
You are on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Joyce Mar. I am a licensee in Rhode Island, and I've been in the business for about 5 years-ish. The reason why I joined this course is because I really want to increase or control the predictability of my listing presentations. I've only been on a few and I've not been successful as of yet. So I want to just gain control over that. I also want to increase my confidence and just give my sellers confidence as well and give them the best resources that I can. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say I am a 1 because I've winged also a few listing presentations that I've been on, but I want to change that.
Okay, very good. Actually, the point of view you just mentioned that you want the sellers to have a better experience when you're doing the listing presentation, that is a different angle to see, to even be able to see that, oh, I want my sellers to have a good experience. If you think about this for a second, I want my sellers to have a good experience during my listing presentation. And because of that, I gotta be prepared. I need to know exactly what I'm doing. And I gotta take them on a journey from A to Z, making them feel comfortable to choose me to represent them as their real estate agent, listing agent. So obviously that takes time. I want you guys to understand that those 3 parts that you see here, the foundation, getting started, and the mastery, the foundation is really something that you guys need to understand logically. So we're going to talk a lot about the things that you need to understand logically. Then getting started is about, let's put this thing in action. Let's see how it feels. So it's almost like starting to presenting and trying to figure out, okay, who is the other person? What's their personality style? And all these different basic skills that you need to know if you wish to become successful. It looks as if the majority of you are more or less at the same level, which is good. I don't know if all of you had experience. I know those of you who work with me for sure has experience role playing, but we will talk also about how to role play, And I need to mention that before we're done with today's call, so you guys can start booking your role play partners and start doing role play sessions. Now, it is highly recommended to role play daily. And in order to do that, you need a role play partner. So we created the group on Facebook. You just need to click on that link on the same page that brought you here today. Click on it, join the group, and then go to the group and post on the wall exactly what days and hours you're available and you wish to role play. Remember, role playing a listing presentation is a little bit longer than role playing a for sale by owner script. So it's not going to be a lot of back and forth exchange. It's going to be like, okay, I'm going to take 15 minutes to do my presentation. Hopefully, at least the first portion. And so you can practice your first portion of the presentation. And then the other person will do that. And then 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, you're going to start role playing the second portion. And by the time you go to the mastery process, you will do the entire process. And it will happen very quickly if you do the homework. The homework is the most important thing. So we're going to talk about all that stuff, but let's begin by doing a quick introduction. I'm going to run through this information. If you downloaded the workbook, you have this also, so you can just go through it. So I'm just going to mention what's important about it and how you can come across different personality styles and when it becomes crucial to be able to be versatile. In my approach, in general, I'm a driver. I'm also expressive, but I'm really a driver, very, very high drive on the DISC profile test. And I'm also very analytical. So for me, because I'm a driver analytical, which you're going to see in a second, it's all about logic. And there's really no emotions involved in the process of doing a presentation. And that was very challenging for me because the majority of the people that I know, that I come across, are not driver analytical. It's very rare. Like analyticals are like 5% of population in general. Drivers are probably about 17, 18%. So the majority of people I come across are not drivers and are not analyticals. They're probably going to fall into being an influencer, or which is what we call expressive, or an amiable. So when I come across this scenario, this situation, many times I step on toes and I don't pick up the emotional side of things. So I really need to be aware of what's going on. So yeah, so Susanna, I just saw what you wrote. So yes, when you're a driver, you need to be careful when you do a presentation, because for us, it's all about the bottom line. And we try to almost like we're very forceful in the way that we present ourselves. And a lot of people, like specifically the opposite of that profile, which is amiable, they don't receive that well. So, okay, I'm going into a listing presentation. I know my script by heart. I know the structure, I know everything. I'm walking in and I need to start presenting. Now I can lose my presentation so quickly just because I'm a driver, because they might not like me. They might like your first impression is not just what you're wearing, is your face impressions, what you do with your body language, and the delivery and the tonality of your voice. Like how you use your voice when you speak with people will make a big difference if you're upswinging or downswinging. So there's so many different things and rules that you need to follow during the presentation, that doing all of that stuff, if you know all the rules and then you go on a listening presentation, I promise you one thing, you're not going to remember anything when you walk in. The first time you walk into a presentation, you will just, even though you memorize your script, you will go in and you're going to start winging it. And it's just part of the process and you need to accept it. It takes time to master your presentation. And because of that, because it's so hard to keep yourself aware during the presentation, it's not just about what do I need to say next? What's my next, what's the structure of this presentation? You also want to see and be aware of how it's being received, right? By the other side, how do they receive me? Like I many times feel tension in the room. Why? Because I tend to be more serious than, happy, laughing, and, like Alex, I'm not super, I could be expressive, but my expressiveness will be delivered by the driver. So I can do a presentation very well, but I need to be very aware of what's happening on the other side. So everybody has their own style. We're going to start showing you the different styles, and you need to understand, first of all, you need to find the ones that is really you, that you resonate with the most. And the best way to find out is just to take the DISC test. Tony Robbins is offering one for free. It's not, the only reason I don't like that one is because it doesn't tell you if you're a D, an I, an S, or a C. It just tells you one of many different profiles, and you need to read about that. And I can tell you where it is on the spectrum of DISC. So if you guys want to do that test, by the time we're done with today, if you never took the DISC test, go to tonyrobbins.com/DISC and take the assessment. All right. And once you take that, you have to get to know who you are. Like, you need to understand who you are with the DISC. Because when you walk in, you want to know how to present and who you're presenting it to. All right, so let's begin. There are really more than 4 personality styles, and I'll explain to you exactly why. But the core, there are only 4 personality styles in the core. What does that mean? Okay, the first one is the driver. The driver is what you call a direct style. Okay, and we'll talk about what it, like all the stuff around the driver. I'm going to explain exactly what it is in a second. The second one is the expressive influencer, which on the DISC test you see in parentheses, DISC stands for the words you see in parentheses. So, but it's really driver, expressive, amiable, and analytical. And each one of those have their own attributes. Now, it can be that a person is a driver. It can also be that a person is a driver expressive. It can also be that it's a driver analytical. It can also be that it's a driver amiable, but that's like a very rare scenario. I met maybe, I don't know, a handful of people, because these are the exact opposites. So to have attributes of each one, you can have one when you are dealing with people that you feel comfortable with, and then you can be something else when you're under pressure, dealing with people that you're not comfortable with. So these things come to play. There are really 16 personalities, because for each one, there will be 3 other scenarios. It can be a driver, it can be a driver expressive, a driver amiable, and a driver analytical. So you got 4. An expressive can be an expressive driver. They can be just expressive. They can also be expressive amiable, which are plenty in real estate. The majority of real estate agents and people who are being attracted to real estate are expressive amiable or amiable expressive. And then the last one is analytical, which can also be an analytical driver. Analytical expressives are the opposites. We'll talk about that. And it's very rare that you find people with that profile. So when you walk in, although you know, this is what I'm trying to tell you right now, you really need to know your presentation. Like, you need to not just memorize it, because when you're memorizing and you go in and you start presenting and you're just memorizing it, people know, because the next step is to internalize. The difference between memorize and internalize is, first you got to memorize the script. Then you need to make it yours. You start feeling like it's yours when you feel very comfortable following it, and you feel very uncomfortable not following it. Like, if I bring you to a point where you memorize your script and then you internalize it, and then I throw you in the presentation and say, you cannot use that presentation, I just want you to wing it, you will feel so uncomfortable. That is unbelievable. At the beginning of my career, when I started going out there getting listings, and I had a coach at the time, I used to fight with my coach every single week. I just fought with my coach. Why? Because I felt uncomfortable to follow their script. I hated it. Like, I just hated reading the script and using those words that I never used before. It's not my language. It's like I just felt uncomfortable. And I fought my coach for at least the first year. It was a nightmare. And then I remember, okay, breaking into it. And I said, you know what, let me just try it out. And then I really started role playing and I started doing all the homework and I memorized the script. And when I memorized it, what happened to me, it's all of a sudden became very easy for me to actually go into a presentation and use the script because I memorized it. I felt more comfortable. And I'm going to show you a technique that when you walk in, you don't need to even memorize it at the beginning stage. Like if you have a listing presentation, say tomorrow or the following day, you can go in and you can literally read the listing presentation with the permission of the seller without them knowing that you're reading it. And I'll explain to you how it's done, which is really what I did at the beginning. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, before I begin the presentation tonight, I just want you to know I made a lot of notes that I wrote down over here. Do you mind if I read my notes to you as I go through this presentation? And the sellers always say, of course not, go ahead and use it. And then what I do is I just use the script, I'm reading it. So if you read the script enough times to a point where it's not really memorized, but you really know where you are at the presentation and you know where to go on the page, you're already at a completely, different level. It's not going to feel the same anymore. You will feel much more comfortable for you to do the presentation. All right. James Pham, I believe that you are expressive. If I remember correctly, you are expressive amiable, but I'm not sure. You need to check it out. You might be expressive driver also. Check that out. Yeah, it will be interesting to see. And by the way, there is another disc that you can take if this one doesn't come out as accurate or if we have question marks regarding it. So let's begin now. And when I'm presenting to you now, you should be able to figure out which one you feel that is more like you. Okay. Teresa, I will tell you which one it is. All right, so let's begin. The driver is obviously driven and direct. So like, I don't beat around the bush. I just say things the way they are. And sometimes, I'm stepping on toes because you're not supposed to say certain things in certain ways. Like I always say things how they are because that's how I am. Decisive, strong-willed, self-confident, daring, determined, and fast-paced. So drivers like to do things faster. For example, if I go on a listing presentation, I'm going to go through the presentation fairly quickly. And if I am in front of someone who is analytical, who needs me to go slowly and I'm going fast, I already lost them because there's going to be a lot of questions and I'm just trying to finish it and get it over with. And they need more time. So we're not in rapport. In order to create rapport, you need to understand who is your opposite, how they behave, and how you should not behave. So these are very important things and why you should really look into your profile. So driver style is, again, the most, I would say, something that would help you determine quickly who you're dealing with is to just ask a question and see how they answer. Tonality, body language, speed, energy will tell you a lot about their style. And many times you can literally figure it out just by asking one question. Okay, so drivers are motivated by, so you want to know what's motivating them, because if you're dealing with a driver, you want to know how to present in such a way that makes them feel that you're giving them what they need. So drivers are motivated by winning, competition, and success. Their values, competent, you need to be competent. If you're not, and you're going in on listing presentation and the seller is a driver and you say an amiable, which is the opposite, competency will be like the first thing that they would recognize in you that you're lacking. Concrete results, right? And these are very important things for you to really understand because it's going to make a big difference. When you go out there, You need to understand how the seller is judging you, how you're looking to the seller from their eyes, from their style. Okay, another thing which drivers value a lot is personal freedom. So they don't like rules. They don't like when you're setting rules. Like if you go into and you start telling a seller, we're going to do it this way and this is how it's going to happen and blah, 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 you might aggravate the driver. So you need to be careful. These are the different styles that I told you, like a driver analytical on the left. Okay. Which prioritizing do they have? A driver analytical prioritizes challenge. They like results, and they like accuracy. For example, if you're going to go and present to a DC and you are the opposite, which is a amiable expressive or expressive amiable, and you're going to go, you know, all happy, and you're not going to pay attention to the detail, and you're just going to be like talking all over the place. Like, by the way, when you wing it, which it comes across that way, a driver analytical will never give you the listing. And you can walk away thinking, why I didn't get the listing? I followed the script, I did everything correctly, I handled all their objections, but I didn't get the listing. You didn't get the listing because you did not present to who they are. You presented to who you are. And you need to take into consideration 75% of the times you're going to meet with someone who's not like you. 75% of the time. Okay? 3 out of 4 presentations, you're presenting to people that are not your style. So you need to be versatile, you need to be careful, you need to be aware. A driver is looking for results, action, and challenge. A driver expressive is looking for action, results, and enthusiasm. Which is really the big difference between a D and an I, is that the driver is not really enthusiastic naturally, and expressives are all about being enthusiastic, and that's how they influence. So what's the point of playing it? What's the point of playing if winning is not the goal? That's their style. This is their approach to everything. So winning is very important. You know, doing it the right way. Bottom line, like show me the bottom line. Stop talking about all these different things. Tell me how much is this going to cost me? How long will it take you to sell my house? And what I need to do in the process. So communicating with the driver, give them the bottom line. That's the first thing you got to know. When you're dealing with the driver, or if you're dealing with someone that tells you, tell me the bottom line, you already know that they're a driver. Okay? You're not going to find an amiable that comes along saying, give me the bottom line here. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So when someone tells you, give me the bottom line, or what's the bottom line, or you see that they're not patient with you, like they want you to move quicker, like you feel almost pressure when you're doing your presentation, you feel like they're pushing you. Okay, so what's your commission? So how long is this going to take? When you start feeling and listening and hearing these attitudes, you should, you know, be aware you're probably dealing with a driver. What else should you do when you communicate with the driver? You need to be brief and you need to speak up. Like, this is the problem that amiables would have. An amiable naturally is more quiet. They don't speak out loud. They're more gentle. They speak slower. They take their time. Their volume is normally very low, and they're very sensitive. And you know, it's a different delivery of a presentation. So if you're an amiable and you speak, your volume is very low, a driver can very easily get irritated. So you need to be careful. Next, focus your discussion narrowly. So don't be all over the place. Okay, which is, by the way, another reason to use a presentation script, so you know where you are. Avoid making generalizations. Be specific. Which is, by the way, something that also analyticals will pay attention to. And then you want to refrain from repeating yourself, like saying the same things over and over and over and over, which is what happens when you wing it. Normally, when you wing it, you're going to repeat stuff. That's another reason to use a script. All right, so that's summarizing the driver. The next profile is the expressive style, which is the influencer. Expressive people are charming, collaborative, energizing, trusting, enthusiastic, impulsive, optimistic, and persuasive. The best salespeople are going to fall under the I style. The challenge that they have is they need to learn when not to speak or when to shut up, which is sometimes challenging, especially when someone who is, with an expressive style. If your I on the DISC profile is super high, you're naturally going to be the one that wants to have the stage. You want to be the one that talks. You want to be the one that everybody else is listening to. So you need to be very, very aware of your style and who you're dealing with. All right. Next, the expressive I style is motivated by social recognition, group activities, and relationships. They do very well in team environments. You will find them many times in leadership positions, just like the driver, by the way, also leadership positions. They like to do things very quickly. And they normally would speak with a lot of energy. So it's not going to be a very down conversation. It's going to be very up here. That's the noise in the background when an expressive is presenting. If you're that person, it's great, by the way, but you need to know how to tone it down when needed. Values, coaching and counseling, freedom of expression, and individuality. I would say freedom of expression is probably the most dominant in an expressive style. The other styles of an expressive is, it shouldn't say driver, it should say expressive, which is the ID, which is really an expressive driver. So they pay attention and prioritize action, enthusiasm, and results. What does that mean? Well, if someone right now is going to look at, if you're going in and you're presenting and you are an analytical who is extremely serious, who speak very slow, who brings in all the details, that will be the exact opposite of an expressive. Expressives only care about action. Let's get in action. Let's get it, show them that you're getting in action, be enthusiastic, and talk about results. And that's more of the driver, the results. Action enthusiasm is more of the expressive. This is the expressive, like only I. They don't have a D. It's mainly an expressive personality. You will see them very easily enthusiastic, collaborating, taking action, moving, doing like the life of the party. They're going to be the one talking. They move their hands. They move their, they're just moving all the time, nonstop, a lot of high energy. When you see that, you know that that person is expressive. Expressive, amiable, collaboration, enthusiasm, and support. Many agents fall in this category. Okay. And that's why when, we talk about training you guys, if you fall in this category, you need to be careful when you're dealing with analyticals and drivers. All right. Communicating. When you communicate with an expressive, you need to share your experiences. You need to allow them time to ask questions and talk themselves, which is extremely important. They love talking, and you need to ask questions and just let them. I mean, for me, the easiest presentation is to an expressive, because I just need to follow my script asking questions, and that's it. They do all the rest. All right. Allow them also to ask you questions, of course. You want to focus on the positives, like don't talk. There's no reason even to show the negatives about the house and stuff. Just talk about positive, make the whole thing like, you need to, many times when you do a presentation, what you say is going to make a determination if you're getting a listing or not. Like literally every word coming out of your mouth is going to be extremely important. So, okay. So pay attention. And that's the thing. If you need to be aware to the other person's personality style over the phone, when you call them, you can figure it out. Like when you call and you do your pre-qualifying script before you go on a presentation and you ask enough questions, you would already know like 90% which style you're going to be dealing with. And that's going to give you like a huge benefit on someone else who doesn't know what the hell is going on. Like if someone else is going in, they don't know who they're dealing with, they're just going in, just, you know, winging it, and you're coming in prepared. You also know how to present, which will be presented in a different way. When you're dealing with an expressive, remember, you need to ask them a lot of questions. Don't talk about negatives, just positive, okay? And avoid overloading them with details. This is for you guys that are analytical. If you're going in and you start showing them graphs and things and look at my CMA and all these different details, and they're gonna lose you at hello. Like they're not with you. And it's not important to them. Just talk about the positives, be excited, put your energy up and up. And these are things that are very important and very difficult, by the way. If you're an analytical, which is the exact opposite of an expressive, and you're doing a presentation, for you to be excited is impossible. So you got to do other things that look like you're excited to be able to build rapport and connect. And so we'll talk about other techniques. This is a little bit of advanced, but I want you to take it in, because you need to understand where we're going with this presentation, listing presentation mastery. It's not just about memorizing scripts and being able to handle objections. It has a lot to, because you're not going to get objections if you're doing the presentation the right way. If at the end of each presentation you're always getting objections, or if you fear getting objections, is because you're not prepared for the presentation and you didn't follow all the steps. I'm going to show you the right way of doing it. And if you follow all the steps, you should not have objections. The objection is not really going to be an objection. It's going to be more like they're testing you. Or, you know, they're trying to, sometimes the seller wants to try to make you feel that they know what they're doing or what they're talking about. So they might ask you some questions, just like showing you that they know, that they did the research. And it's okay. You just need to let them do what they need to do. And something else, the bottom line over here that you see, don't interrupt expressives. Like when they speak, don't jump into their word. Like let them talk, let them say what they want to say, and let them finish saying what they want to say. And only then you move to whatever else you need to say or ask the next question. The presentation is built in a way that you're presenting something and then you ask a question. And then they answer, and then you ask another question, and then they answer, and then you go and you present another thing. And then you finish it up by asking some questions. And then, so it's always you asking questions, they participate. Basically it's their show. It's not your show. You control the show by coming prepared with the right questions. And that's really what it's all about. And it starts on the phone. It doesn't start when you're at the house. If you're starting a presentation, when you go to the house, you already missed half of it. Because the presentation starts when you're with the seller on the phone, on the pre-qualifying script. The majority of agents that I work with and I come across, they're not pre-qualifying their listing presentation. They talk to the seller, they say they call the FISBO. They spoke to the FISBO. FISBO had enough trying on their own, they're ready to list. And the agent said, okay, I'll see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and then it's done. And then they go to the house and they need to start from scratch. Instead of doing it this way, you're going to start the presentation at the beginning of the presentation, which is in your first contact. When you contact someone, you're going to start listening to how they speak, what questions they ask you, how they answer your questions, which will help you pick up on their energy and their style. All right. Next, the S style, which is the amiable. Amiables are very sensitive. So take that into consideration. I want to mention two more things that I didn't on the D and the I. So the drivers, write it down. The drivers drivers don't use emotion. It's all about logic. That's the first thing you need to know about a driver. Emotions don't matter. What matters is emotions don't matter. So what matters to them is logic. It has to make sense. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is they are very low on emotion. Drivers are not going to be high emotion. They're going to be on the lower side of emotion. They don't use emotions. Emotions don't have meaning for them in this connotation of a listing presentation. They just don't care. So you need to remember that. Expressives are very high on emotion. What's the difference between a driver and expressive. The main difference, expressive are high on emotion and drivers are low on emotion. Remember that. Drivers are low on emotion, expressive are high on emotion. So when you walk in and you are low on emotion because you're a driver and you're presenting to an expressive, you need to bring your emotions up a notch, right? And you need to ask a lot of questions. But when an expressive need to make a decision, they will make a decision based on emotions. How does it feel is a question I would ask an expressive, but is not a question that I'm going to ask a driver. Because if I ask a driver, how do you feel about X? He will say, or she will say, like, how does that matter, how I feel? It has nothing to do with how I feel. It's just about getting it done. Like how I feel about it doesn't matter. You need to be careful. Because if for you, it matters how it feels, doesn't mean that the seller feels the same way as you. On amiables, they are very high on emotion, okay, and low on logic. How do you know if someone is amiable? I know it immediately because it's my opposite, okay, my opposite. So it's exactly how I am not, okay? So amiables are calm and patient. I'm definitely not calm and I'm not patient, okay? Amiables are predictable, okay, because they're not risk takers. So you could probably predict what's going to be the next move, all right? And expressives are very unpredictable. Drivers are unpredictable. So you need to, these are kind of things you need to really pay attention to. Okay, so amiables are deliberate, stable, warm, passive, and loyal. The S stands for steady and security. So what's important to an amiable? Remember, the amiable is S profile. S, what they care about is steadiness, safety, okay, and stability, security. So it has to be a slower presentation. There needs to be a lot of questions about, hey, how do you feel about us using this price? How do you feel about us using this price? If you ask that question to a driver, he would look at you like, what is that? Like, what do you mean how I feel? What do you mean how I feel? It's a price, like do this or do that. Like, so the driver want to hear something different. They want to hear, what do you think about this price? Or analytical, what do you think about this price? But if you ask an analytical, how do you feel about this price? He would look at you weird. Like, what do you mean how I feel? How does that even relate? So you remember, expressives and amiables, when you ask them a question, how do you feel about? Driver and analytical, you ask them, what do you think about? What do you think about us putting your home on the market for this price right now? How do you feel about us using this price right now? So when you have a script, yes, it's written there, but you need to also take that script and deliver it depending on who it is that you're dealing with. Okay, and the reason that I'm telling you all that stuff, and you see it's an overload of information, the reason I'm giving it to you right now is because I need you guys to understand that if you're not going to memorize and internalize this script, you will never be able to do this presentation the right way, because there's so many different, like you told the guy, what do you think about doing this? And you should have asked, how do you feel about it? Because they don't think about it, they just feel. Amiables don't make, they don't think too much, they just feel, and they feel a lot. So you need to remember, should I ask him, how do you think about this? Or how do we feel about that? And that's going to come with time. It's going to come with time. That's why I'm saying the homework and role playing is so important, because you want to internalize the script and already know what you're going to be saying. And by the way, at the beginning stage, when you're practicing your script, you have to literally use it verbatim. Why? Because you need to memorize. And once you memorize, you start using your own words. You start using your own style. But when you do that, you also want to be careful, because it's not necessarily going to be the seller style. So if I'm going to go right now, say I know James is expressive. Okay, so I ask him some questions over the phone. I see when he talks, he moves his body. I see that when he talks, he's very, I ask him a question that, he should answer in 10 seconds and he took 17 minutes to tell me something, right? So if I see that, I already know, okay, James is expressive. When I go in tomorrow, I got to ask him, how do you feel about stuff instead of how do you think about it? And I also need to come to him and say, and let him, ask him questions and let him talk. Like let him sing and talk. And I only have to show him the positive things because for me, I'm also analytical. I will show you all the negatives also. And if I'm going to come in and I'm going to start showing you negatives, I'm going to start using your energy is going to start going down. I will recognize you at the beginning, you're up here and all of a sudden you're down here. And I need to start bringing you from here back to here. And it's a nightmare. It takes a lot of energy and stuff. So if I'm just going in and I'm like, okay, I'm a driver expressive, I'm a driver analytical, which is kind of the opposite of an expressive. When I go meet with James tomorrow, I got to be prepared. So it's not just about knowing what I'm going to say. I also need to present to an expressive. So I got to ask him questions, let him talk, let him finish. I'm not going to cut his words, right? I need to let him be him. And by doing that, he would feel very comfortable with me because he would feel that I'm giving him the stage that he really wants. He wants a stage. If I'm going to come in and take the stage, he's going to hate me. Dude, what about my stage? Like, when is my turn? Can I talk? Like, so I let him talk. And then I ask him, how do you feel about this? And how do you feel about that? And what do you feel that we should do here? And that's going to be my entire, like, that's what I need to remember in my brain. And then I go in and I do my presentation. So yeah, I follow my script, but I will change it according to his style, not according to my style. All right. I lost so many listings, guys, at the beginning of my career. Like when I started like literally paying attention, by the way, back in the day, like if you caught me in 2005 as an example, and you would tell me, Ran, you need to be more versatile, I will tell you what we say in Italy, they do this, which means I don't give it, right? I don't care. I don't care. Let me just, if this seller doesn't like me, next. I have another presentation at 7 o'clock, who cares? And that's how I was. I probably lost more than double than the business that I accomplished. If I was learning this at the beginning and I allowed myself to be more versatile and accept the fact that I'm far from being perfect, and I'm far from being liked by most people because of my style, people will be intimidated. If I knew these things at the beginning of my career, I would treat so many people differently. I would get so much more business and build so much, many more friendships and relationships. I stepped on toes left and right. And it's because I was like, dude, I am who I am. And if you don't like me, here's the door, which was so dumb. Right, James? So yeah, but that lost me a lot of business. It caused me to, it was stupid. It was really dumb. So I'm telling you guys, don't do it. Like learn, okay, you are who you are, but you can also be more versatile and make a lot more people like you. This business that we're in is all about likability. If people don't like you, they don't like your style, you're losing every single time. My biggest problem is patience. I don't have patience because I'm a driver. I want to get these things done. Like when I have an issue, I want to deal with it like right now. And I need to end it like now, as soon as possible. I cannot let it linger because I just don't have the patience. So you need to know what is your Achilles heel. That's mine. Okay, I'm impatient. I don't have the patience. And sometimes when I coach, I also need to be careful because I can lose my patience. Not because of anything other than I just jumped into, I'm too much of me in the scenario that I'm in. I'm too much of myself. I need to stop being this person and I need to be someone else. And that's versatility. And it is an advanced technique and it takes a long time to build it. And I need you guys to understand that because you guys will need to be so like crazy on memorizing and internal. That's the first step. The first step to a perfect presentation is memorizing and internalizing the script. You need to know what you're saying at the beginning, in the middle, at the end, how to start, how to finish, how to handle the objections, which objections, like you need to know all that stuff. So that's why you need to do your homework. That's why you gotta, when I'm giving you homework assignment, you really need to be like all over it. And the majority of you, I should say the majority of us, I mean, role-playing, guys, is boring. Handwriting scripts and dialogues until you memorize them, that's boring, okay? And it's also painful because handwriting a script, trust me, if I told you, hey, take the first portion of the script and handwrite it 20 times, by the time you're done, you want to kill me. Because first of all, it's painful. Second of all, it's boring. And because of that, it's not fun and people don't do it. But if you're going to choose right now to do the things that are boring, you will become like successful is not even the word. You can get every listing you want to get with no problem if you just go through this repetitious boredom and do it anyways. Is very important. All right, back to the amiable style. So they're very stable, they're warm, passive. What I know about amiable style the most, like how do I recognize them quickly? They speak very softly. Like my volume right now is too far up. I need to go down like this and I need to have the conversation more from this end of the table. So, you know, so James, how do you feel that if we're going to choose the price right now and if we're going to do the, I got to stay here. If I'm expressive, I'm going to, I'm going to annoy them as heck. Like after 5 minutes of presenting to, if you are an expressive and you're going to go meet with an amiable, you're going to annoy them very quickly because they're going to be like, dude, this guy is all about himself and how he is. And like slow down a little bit and come off the stage for a second and be, you know, meet me where I am at my level. So amiables will speak very softly. They're not going to speak very rapidly and fast. When you come in, expressives speak very fast. So when you go in speaking fast and going crazy on an amiable, they're going to lose you very quickly. And they don't trust you, by the way. So it comes to them, it comes as if you are not trustworthy. And also to analyticals that are very slow. They're very slow speakers. They speak very slowly, right? Analyticals speak very, very slowly. It's important to them to explain every detail. They're going to go into the CMA and they're going to show you every single letter on the page of the CMA. And they want to show you everything that you understand, the benefits and the negatives and the pros and cons, and they're going to go over it. And if they're going to do that with an expressive, the expressive will fall asleep 10 times inside their body, okay, before the presentation is over. So you got to be careful. All right, motivated. What motivates amiables? Cooperation, opportunities to help, and sincere appreciation. Values, loyalty, helping others, and security. Different profiles of amiable. You can be an analytical amiable. This is analytical amiable is the CS. Stability, support, and accuracy. Okay, amiables support, stability, collaboration, and then expressive amiable, collaboration, support, and enthusiasm. So you need to figure it out. If you're meeting, for example, if I'm going to go in on presentation and I am a driver analytical and I go and I meet someone like this over here, I'm already losing I'm losing the listing before I'm already like 90% not getting the listing. I got to be very careful. Sometimes, by the way, I would have chosen not to even go there, or I would do it like very quickly. I will try to get the listing over the phone or something like that, just not to deal with that, which is wrong. Okay, all you got to do is just become versatile and understand how to present to them. So what they want to see when you're presenting. Okay, how do you communicate with an amiable? First thing you need to remember, and always go back to those things, and I will show you this equation. I forgot to put it on the PowerPoint. Remember, amiables are high on emotion, so they're very emotional, and very low on logic. So it's not about the logic, it's not about making sense, it's about how it feels. How do you feel about me getting you a buyer by the end of the week. Does that make you feel anxious? Like, do you feel comfortable with that, or is it too fast for you? Oh, no, it's way too fast. We're not ready for that. And blah, blah, blah. Okay, so why every second sentence that I'm telling the seller is, I'm going to sell your home fast for top dollar, fast. They don't want to move fast. So you got to understand how to communicate with them. You need to be personal and you need to be amiable. You need to become amiable, be more sensitive, be more compassionate. Try to understand more, slow down your brain, slow down your entire presentation. Instead of 20 minutes, make it 45 minutes, make it an hour. What's the problem? If they need an hour out of me, I give them an hour. If, I would like to finish it in 20 minutes because I'm a driver and I have another presentation. But when you walk in, it's not about you. So when you communicate with amiables, you need to make sure that you become personal and you become amiable. Okay, you need to express your interest in these people and what you expect from them. You need to tell them exactly what the expectations are, go over expectations, ask them if they have any special requests from you, accept what they bring to the table. Don't go into conflicts. Don't confront them, which is very bad with an amiable. And you can do it all day long with the driver. Like with a driver, you can do all day long, you can do confrontations, no problem. They're not going to have any issues with it. But an amiable will. And again, take time and you need to provide them clarification. They need to be clear about everything. Like make it clear and make sure that they feel that it's clear. It's not about you thinking, oh, I already told them that. No, but they didn't get it. So say it again with more patience. So you have to, be polite. Slow down, bring down your volume, especially expressives. Don't go in nuts and try to influence them to fill up, because an expressive is judging when they talk to someone. Okay, if I'm an expressive and I'm speaking with you right now, I'm going to judge you based on the energy levels that you have. If you're not up and up, if you're more like an analytical, you speak very slowly, I'm going to be like, dude, this person is so boring. That's the first instinct. It doesn't mean that this person is boring. It's just an instinct. So you need to understand the style you're dealing with have instincts of judgment. They will judge you very quickly. You need to make them feel very comfortable. To make an amiable feel comfortable, you need to be polite. You need to speak in a certain volume. Don't go up above that volume, because if you do, you're losing them. And don't be confrontational. Drivers, here is why I lost majority of the listings. The bottom line over here says, avoid being confrontational or too aggressive. A driver is confrontational and a driver is aggressive. It's just, that's how it is. So you go in and you do a presentation and you're dealing with amiables. You're not going to get the listing, just because if you're going to be who you are, you're not getting the listing. That I tell you right now. It doesn't matter how many sold you have and how many listings you have and how your company is on the best magazines and all this stuff that people say during this presentation. Doesn't matter none, because they don't like you. All right, analyticals. Analyticals are cautious and systematic. Like I'm talking cautious and systematic, like you have no idea. If at the end of my presentation, I gave them all the details and they still need time to think about it, and I'm going to try to push them to make a decision right now and sign the contract, I'm going to lose them. So you need to understand, when you get to the end of your presentation and you're dealing with an analytical who is very cautious and they need to see the entire picture, okay? You need to be extremely accurate throughout your presentation. They're going to be reserved, as you see here. They will be diplomatic, okay? They will be super analytical. They will be judgmental. They seek perfection because they're perfectionists, and they're also perfectionists with themselves, but they will also expect you to be perfect. Like if you make one mistake, I was once presenting to a seller, and I told this story to some of you. I went on a listing presentation And I was there, like, you know, I come in, at the time I was getting like 12, 15 listings a month. So I would just go in and I do my presentation, and I didn't, if that was a neighbor, I called a FISBO, way out of my area, like 45-minute drive away, an hour drive away into New Jersey. I went there to do presentation. I never sold a house in that place, ever. And I went in and I did a presentation. I did a CMA. I mean, I just spent about an hour on MLS. So an hour, trust me, when you know what you're doing, an hour on MLS is enough. You know the value. You know what homes are selling for. It was a very simple ranch, 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch. I mean, you can see cookie cutter. It's going to sell between 300 and 325. That's it. All the homes in the neighborhood in the last 10 years sold to that price. So I go on a presentation, and I chose some comps, active comps, and some solds, and I present, and I didn't know what the hell I'm talking about, because I never sold these properties. I never walked through any of these comps that I chose. And it happened to be that one of those homes belonged to his sister. And I was not accurate. I was not accurate at all speaking about that property, because everything I said was from MLS. And he started telling me about that house. He said, listen, I know this house because we grew up in the house. And he started telling me my sister, it was my parents' house. My sister now lives there, and all these different things. And I lost the listing because of that reason, because I was not thorough enough. I wasn't accurate in the information I delivered. Everything else was good. Like he told me, if you didn't do this mistake, I would have given you the listing. But I can't trust you right now. And, you know, thank you very much for coming. He stopped me right there. It was like in the middle of my presentation, he stopped me, and I had to walk away from it. And I learned. As a matter of fact, shortly after that, I started previewing every single listing that I chose, obviously the active listings, because you cannot preview solds. But when you're active in your neighborhood and you know all the houses and you're showing and you're, you know, involved, then you're going to get to know a lot of the listings that sold, and you can speak from experience. But you need to be very careful. Don't say something that can come back and bite you with analyticals, because they're going to pay attention to every single word coming out of your mouth, and they would memorize it. And trust me, by the time it's time to get a listing, you're not getting it because you just said something wrong or you were not accurate. So when you present to analyticals, be analytical. So how can you become an analytical person if you're not? Well, everything you're going to do in this presentation needs to be perfect. Doesn't mean that you need to be perfect, but your delivery needs to be perfect. What does that mean? All the information that you're talking about, you need to know exactly what you're talking about. Otherwise, don't talk about it. If you don't feel comfortable talking about a certain comp, don't bring it. Bring a different comp. Choose a different house. But just don't make mistakes that are very easy to avoid. For example, do your homework. I tell you how you can find out details about a house. If you really want to be thorough, guys, the majority of people are not going to do what I'm saying right now, because it's more time consuming. And we all try to save time and be quick, right? And get results quickly. So we avoid the things that can help us become more successful. Therefore, most people will avoid what I'm telling you right now. But if you choose some sold comps, you chose 3 homes that are 3-bedroom, 2-bath in the area. One was ranch, one was a colonial, and one was a split level. And you're going in there and you're doing a presentation, and you try to compare a ranch to a split level without seeing it. So what do you need to do? I'll tell you what you need to do. Call the listing agent who sold that house. Okay, call them. Hey, Teresa, Ran Biderman calling you from Circle 100 Real Estate Brokerage. How are you? I'm calling about your listing at 123 Main Street. I know you sold it like 3 months ago. Can I ask you a few questions real quickly about the house? Yes, of course. Great. Now I'm asking her questions. She's giving me all the details. Every detail I need to know that I want to talk to the seller about, I need to know it. So I'm going to go ahead and ask her, and she's going to give me all the answers. And then when I go into my presentation, trust me, I am a lot more prepared than if I did not call and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So if you feel sometimes uncomfortable, guys, the only way to get comfortable is just make a phone call. Call the agent and tell them, hey, I was wondering about that house because my aunt wants to sell a house similar to that. I was just wondering, to ask you a couple of questions, if that's okay. By the way, do they really have a second bathroom? And what was the condition of the bathroom? And did they have a finished basement? And how was the attic? And what was the, did you have any issues selling it? Was there any issues at all that you can think about? All of a sudden it tells you, oh yeah, we had an issue with an oil tank and we had to remove the oil tank. And there was an issue also in the back of the house. And he was encroaching on another property in all these different stories that you would never know. Now you know all these details. And when you go and present it to a neighbor, someone in the same block that's selling, now you know what you're talking about. So try to do extra stuff and be more prepared when you know that you're meeting with an analytical. You don't need to do this, by the way, when you meet with a driver or when you meet with an expressive person. They don't care one iota. But when you meet with an analytical person, you need to know almost everything that there is to know about that situation, because they will measure you based on how much knowledge you have. So it's very important. All right. Analyticals motivated by, well, they're not going to show you that they're motivated. So you need to be careful with that. You're not going to see on an analytical that they're motivated or excited, because they're not going to show it to you. They just don't show it. Okay, you're not going to get that excitement that you will get from an expressive. When you're presenting to expressive, you will see it very easily that the person is excited because their emotions are showing, but analyticals don't show you their emotions. You wouldn't know. It's the same. It's very monotonous. It's like the same level of energy throughout the entire time you're meeting with these people. It's always the same level. It doesn't go up and down like expressives, up and down the whole time. All right. Amiables, also you're going to see some, emotions on their face, and you'll see them leaning forward when they're feeling more comfortable. You'll see them doing this when they feel uncomfortable. By the way, if you're presenting to an analytical, okay, and I didn't even talk to you guys about presenting to a couple when they're opposites. Now, good luck with that, because that's a whole new game right there. But if you're going into a listing presentation and you see the seller sitting like this, the whole time they're sitting like this, just remember 90% chance they're analytical. If they sit with you like this during presentation, a driver is not going to sit like that. And if they do, it's going to be for a split of a second. And expressive will never do that, because for them, it's like claustrophobic to sit like that. They need to move around and do things and, be in movement. Amiables might sit like that for a little short while, but it's not going to be like a judgmental, all serious look. It's going to be more of a soft gaze. These are different things that you can learn from meeting with a lot of people and doing a lot of presentations. So you can see it's not just about delivering, guys. It's about recognizing who you're dealing with and then trying to be, and the easiest way to do this, by the way, when I studied NLP for 6 months, I was in a coaching program, NLP coaching program for 6 months. That was the first time that I recognized that I got to become versatile and what it even means to be versatile. So the exercise we had was to sit in front of people. Every day we went, every week we got some homework. We went 6 months, not 6 weeks. Just for you to understand, it takes time to build these skills, but I want you to know that it exists so that you understand how serious the homework is going to be. You meet with someone and you start mimicking everything they do. If they sit like this, you sit like this, just for not the whole time. You sit like that, and then you start smiling. And then you're going to say something funny, or you're going to say something that throws them a little bit off. And then you're going to slowly open up your arms, and you will see them starting to move also, and they start opening. And, and if they sit like this, you need to be also like that, but not so, in an obvious way. You need to do it in a very subtle way, that they're not really recognizing that you're doing it, but you're doing it. And I want you to do this, and that's going to be your homework. Your homework between now and next week that we meet is I will show you which portion of the presentation you need to memorize. But in addition to that, I want you to start mimicking their body language. We will also need to start mimicking their tonality and pronunciation and how they say things, and just be like them. But right now it's all about body language. If they sit with their legs crossed, you sit with your legs crossed. And then you start talking to them. Slowly you move your legs a little bit, and then you pay attention. They're going to move also shortly after you. And when that happens, you are now in rapport. You're in rapport with them. If they sit like this and you sit like that, and then slowly you start coming out of that position, and you see that they also do that, you're in rapport with these people. So your homework will be to mimic, and this might be fun for you to do, but you want to mimic your significant other, your spouse, your children, your parents, your roommates, anyone who you know, meeting with on a daily. I want you to start mimicking them. So you sit this evening, you're going to sit down and eat dinner, start mimicking the people around the table. Okay, if you have a 7-year-old, become a 7-year-old in your behavior and your body movements. Just do it with awareness, consciously, and watch what's happening in the room around you when you do that. By the way, they will never recognize that you're doing it. At the beginning, it felt scary to do with people you don't know, but they will never know that you're doing it. You know, they're never going to know that you're doing it. And it's beautiful. When you start paying attention, you start doing it with everybody that you meet, just to become more versatile. It's about discipline, to allow yourself not to be always who you are and want everyone else to match you, which is really the majority of us. This is how I behave and how most people I know behave. They want everyone else, we want everyone else to be like us. And this is the beginning of that feeling. You mimic someone's behavior. I'll give you an example. And we do this also in the language mastery when you're calling people. You can call someone, you can do this over the phone. I mean, you can't really mimic their body language, but you can mimic their tonality. If someone picks up the phone like, hello, you need to do a similar hello. So even though I don't pick up like that, I will also say hello in my own voice, but I'm going to copy the music. If they pick up hello, I will be like, hello, this is Ran Biderman calling, da, 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 and I will be the same. I will mimic their tonality and how pronunciation. And they would never know. And by the time, like after 30 seconds, by the way, you go back to being who you are. You already built rapport. It's already done. You just need to do it for like the first minute. And it's beautiful. It works fantastic. Try it out and see how it works for you. So remember, I'm going to summarize the personality styles. And these are the different variations. Variations are always more complicated. Like when you meet someone who is also analytical and also a driver, I tell you right off the bat, good luck, because you're probably not going to make them happy, but you can get things done. Happy is a whole new level. But when I meet a CD, I'm a DC. When I meet a CD, it's very, CD are complicated people. Why? Because they're also perfectionist. And accuracy has to be to like 100% accuracy. You cannot make any mistakes. Is unacceptable. It's also unacceptable for them to make mistakes, by the way. But they would expect the same from you. It's all about results, and they like to have a challenge. Okay, analyticals, like an entire C that you see in the middle, is all about accuracy, stability, and challenge. And then CS, which is a pretty large percentage of analyticals are also amiables. You need to slow down. Here in this side of the graph, you really need to slow down. And the complexity here, like for example, right now on the call, Carlos is a CS profile. The complexity of meeting and doing presentation with someone at a CS profile is that it's very difficult, first of all, to see when they get excited. So you don't really know when it's time to close. They don't show it, you know, especially when the analytical side is very high. So you need to be like, pay a lot of attention and try to figure out what's missing. Many times when you're in a listing presentation, you would feel that something is missing, but it has nothing to do with your presentation. It's the delivery. It's what you're doing that's missing. You're not mimicking them. You're not really like them, so they are not in rapport. They feel that something is missing. You feel that something is missing, and they feel that something is missing, and you don't know what's missing. But many times what's missing is so simple, is just recognizing that this person is not like you, and you need to do things in a different way. All right, so remember this graph. You also have those if you downloaded them, and if you didn't, go back to the website and do it. This particular graph is easy to work with, all right? And it shows you what's in common to these things and what's the opposite. So an I and an S, accepting and warm. This is all about how you feel. How do you feel? Questions go to IS. Okay, how do you think? Questions go to DC. How do you think? Okay, DI are fast paced. They do things very quickly. They make decisions very quickly. DI make decisions very quickly. Okay, CS make decisions very slowly. When I present to a D or an I or a DI or an ID, when I present up here, I can walk away 25 minutes, I got the listing and I'm out of there. When I do a presentation down here, I will probably take about an hour and sometimes even longer. It's not about me, I don't need that time, they need the time. So this is what you want to remember the most. You want to look at this and figure it out. Okay, DI are fast pace. Drivers and expressive. Move fast. If you are a C, your opposite is an I. If you are a C, means you're analytical. Your opposite is an I. This will be the most difficult presentation. If you're an I, your opposite is a C. This will be the most difficult presentation. If you're a driver, amiable will be the most difficult presentation. If you're amiable, don't go to any driver presentations.
Very encouraging.
Yeah, so I want, guys, I'm opening up the microphone right now for questions about everything we spoke so far. Questions, input, feedback.
This is hey Ran, this is James. So
Yes.
yeah, I mean, this is so like, you know, I've been like I've been doing this for 19, well, not doing this for 19 years, but just in the business. But you know, and I've heard this before, but the way you break it down for me, it's just so eye-opening. And I feel just listening to this more empowered that now I can relate. Because, you know, like with my, you know, I'm one of those guys that just like to do it my way, right? And kind of like, you know, my style, and, you know, and hope that people attract people who are like me. But from what you're saying now, it's like, it totally clicked to me that, you know, it's like if I do a presentation, I can't be myself. You know, I need to, you know, build rapport. And those four, what you just laid out, is just, it makes me feel comfortable. Now I feel more confident that if I am going to present, that at least I'll have, you know, I'll know how to communicate to them better. And then later on, I can be myself, right?
The only thing you need to be careful is if you go into a presentation, if you're meeting with an expressive or some combo of an expressive, you can be yourself. As a matter of fact, you have to be yourself, because that's what they're gonna like about you. So you always, it's not, I can't be myself. It's who am I presenting to? And maybe they're like me, I can just be myself, and that will be the easiest presentation. And you'll see, you're gonna get most of those listings naturally, because you don't need to sweat it. You know, but yeah, when you become aware, also another thing to remember, which is happening to me, when I become aware of personality styles and I go in and I still didn't figure out who they are, and I need to be there trying to figure out what's going on, I become serious. And I look serious, I lose my smile, and I almost like I have a dead face, like because I'm thinking, I'm trying to pick up what's happening around me, and I become serious and I don't pay attention and I lose it. Because people don't like you when you're like that, you look weird. So smiling is very important. When I'm going in a presentation, one of the most difficult things for me is to smile, but I'm going to start thinking about, funny things. I'm going to try to find different things about them that make me smile, and just keep the smile going. There's no reason during a presentation, unless you're presenting to an analytical, and if you're smiling too much with analytical, it's going to look a little bit weird. But, so you really need to know, it's an eye opener for sure.
Yeah.
Carlos?
So you had mentioned earlier that people with a D personality are about 15% of the population, C's maybe 5%. What do you think is the most common personality styles that we'll meet? Because if we're meeting, if the majority of people are a certain personality style, then we can probably focus on that style as we get started in this process of learning this presentation.
I hope that everybody, just based on your question, picked up already that you're super analytical, because you're going to deep details over here. You want to find a way to systemize, right? You want to find a way to systemize so that when you go in, you already know, like you want a chart. That is how an analytical thinks. And I'm with you on it because I'm similar, because I'm also analytical. So that question to me comes across as great. But if there was someone who's only expressive on the call right now, they will be like, dude, how the heck am I going to get this guy this information? It would even look sometimes irrelevant. So to answer the question, there is an actual statistic out there. I just need to find it, but there is an actual statistic. I think that analyticals, like strictly analyticals, are a very small percentage, like 5% of population, maybe less, are strictly analytical. Okay, drivers are also a small percentage, like 15%. The majority of people will fall into amiable, expressive, or expressive amiable. That's going to be 50% of the group. Half will be expressive or amiable, or the combo. Okay, or they're expressive, which will be the opposite of you. And when you go in, Carlos, you really need to be careful, because they want you to be excited, and you need to literally, you need to find the amiable in you and connect to them through there. You see here on the graph, look, you got the C, that's who you are. You're also S, and you're meeting with an I. C and I are the opposite, but the S and I have something similar. So you want to be more of an amiable when you meet with an expressive person. You really want to drop a lot of your analytical side, which is being a perfectionist and bringing all the details. They don't care about the details. They care about how you are and how you feel and that kind of stuff. So you can bring it to emotions and talk about how do you feel about this and how do you feel about that. Ask them questions, let them express themselves. You will be good and dandy, and you will take the listing. But if you're going to go on like a C, which you bring in many times, because I know you very well, sometimes when you present, you will bring in the negatives. You're going to show them also what's not going to work, and they don't need to know that. They don't need to know it. So there's no reason. Maybe down the, you would say something like this. Well, we might have an issue if A, B, and C, then we won't be able to close. So I might suggest you already lost them. They want to know that you can sell the house. That's all they care about. It's okay that you know what can go wrong, but it's not necessarily something that, it needs to be at the table, at the presentation table. So to answer your question, percentage-wise, you're not going to meet too many people that are analytical, very small percentage. And you're going to start paying attention during the presentation time. I think the easiest way to pick up on an energy, first of all, remember, half of the times it will be amiable or expressive. Okay, that's right off the bat, or combo. And there's a much less drivers, analyticals out there. Okay, so right off the bat, you know, okay, I would probably present half of the time I would present to an expressive or amiable. All right, even more than half the times. And many times you're going to present to an expressive driver. They also exist in abundance. You know, so we're talking about a DI profile or an ID profile. You will meet a lot of IS and ID and very little C. You will meet some CS, some CD. You're probably not going to meet a CI, and you're probably not going to meet an IC because they are, I mean, it's almost in non-existence because they're literally the opposites. All right. So yeah, I think the more you know about these people, small stuff, you don't need to know like the depth. You need to know an expressive would move their arms and they will talk very fast and they will be very expressive. Like they will, and they want to be heard. They want you to listen to them. And you as an amiable are a perfect listener. Like there is no one who can listen better than amiables. If I come across in a presentation someone who just is quiet the majority of the time, they're probably amiable because they take in and they allow you to speak. So that's something that you need to do with expressives and you win every time. But when you are going to go meet with a driver, that's always going to be your Achilles heel right there. When you meet with a driver, you will have a little bit of an issue that you'll need to fix. And how can you fix it? By being more analytical and drop completely your amiable. Like it's not about how you feel. You know what I'm saying? Because feelings are important to amiables, but you also have your analytical that doesn't care about how it feels. Analytical is only about logic. So when you meet with a D, be the C. Don't be the S. When you meet with an I, be the S, don't be the C. It's a little bit complicated to understand right now, but trust me, it's not complicated at all. You just need to be aware and pay attention. Sebastian.
So Ran, you know, early on in my career, I did the DISC profile back in 2013. And as you know, you master the script and you become more of a chameleon and adapt to different personality styles. You know, I would also say it's a good idea to take this profile again, you know, maybe a few years down the road, and I think you'll be surprised to see how the dot on the graph moves or can move. You know, I early on in my career started off as a high I, and now I'm more of an IC. You know, 6-7 years down the road.
It can happen. It's not very common, but what you're talking about an I who becomes a C, which is the exact opposite, that is very rare. And the reason that it's like that is because the older you get, the more cautious you become. The more experiences you have that told you, you know, don't do this, don't do that, this can be like that. So you start analyzing more. And you probably had the C from the beginning. It just moved a little bit, but you couldn't be that you had no C and all of a sudden you have C. That cannot be, by the way, unless, you know, there's something else going on behind the scene. But in general, yeah, what you're saying is, you know, is on the dot. When you take, look, if you're a driver expressive, you will always be driver expressive. It can move slightly. You can sometimes choose to be, and this is, by the way, the combo factor goes in place in these scenarios, okay? And remember that as well, and you might want to write it down. There is 2 different graphs on the disk, 3 actually. One is showing you your mirrored self. This is how you see yourself, okay? Another one is how other people see you, how you are with other people. So one way is how you are with the people that you feel comfortable with, like your spouse, your best friend, etc. And another portion of you is how you are with strangers. And it can be, for example, myself, I'm a DIC. If you look at my profile, I'm all the way up on the D. The I is about 80%. And the C is about 70%. That's my profile. And the S is like 2%. So when I can never become amiable, I can maybe be more compassionate, but you're not going to see on my graph that all of a sudden I'm not a driver anymore and I became an amiable. It's not going to happen. What could happen, which is what you're talking about, it tells you, my friend, that you are versatile and you know how to change yourself when you need to. And it can also be that some big priorities in your life change dramatically in these 7 years. And that's why when you're answering questions on the disc, you're now answering them slightly different. And by the way, some people who take the disc are not always taking it accurately because sometimes they feel too much pressured. Sometimes the environment is not correctly for them. They feel like they're being interviewed for a very important job. So they try to match who they are to the, like they start thinking, especially if they're analytical, how should I answer this question? If I answer it like this, they would think that I'm that. And if I answer it like this, they would think that I'm like this. And I want to be more like this. So let me answer like that.
Mm-hmm.
When you start doing that, when you take the disc, it means that you're not taking the disc the right way because you got to take the disc in what's your instinct. You read, boom, you answer. You don't analyze too much. And that's how it's also depend on that. So these things can happen when you take the disc test, but I'm sure that your style is your style. And you just became more versatile on other attributes which you already had at the beginning. I don't know, you can show me the disc and we can talk about it. But good stuff, man. Carlos?
Yeah, so I just want to comment on that a little bit. I mean, normally when you take the disc, like you mentioned just now, you have your mirrored self, how you perceive yourself, but you also have how people perceive you. What you need to realize is, you know, what's the reason you're taking the disc? Are you taking it for professional reasons? You're taking it just to see how you are naturally? And I think your answers are going to fluctuate based on the reasons you're taking it. So if you're taking it for work, you might act a certain way when it comes to your professional life versus your personal life. You know, so it really, you know, your answers are going to be based on how, or the reasons, or how you're thinking at that point when you're taking the disc. And I think in this sense, you know, when you do take it, if you're going to take it, you know, focus on how you are professionally and answer the questions in that sense, you know, kind of take the personal out of it a little bit to get a more accurate assessment as to what your disc profile is from a business standpoint. I mean, do you think that makes sense?
Absolutely. But I tell you that you cannot get two completely different profiles when you take the disc with a different mindset. It will be still, the choices that you're making. The disc is about, when you take the disc test, the questions they ask you is all about how you make decisions. So they give you a scenario and they give you 4 options to choose from. And many times the 4 options are all exactly who you are, but you need to choose one most and one least. And when you make that choice, many times, like you say, if you're in a job interview, you will make the most and least sound more like, because you're all the 4. Now you just need to make a, you know, a preference, which one more, which one less. And you could change slightly the graph based on, you know, maneuvering the answers, but it's not ever going to be like you, for example, you're an expressive amiable. You're not going to be able to take this test and get a driver expressive results. Even if you really want the job, you're not going to be able to do that because it's not who you are. You feel that you're lying. You know, like throughout the whole time, you're like, I'm lying, you know? You take the test and you're like, that's not me, but I'm just going to do it because, you know, I need it for the job. And by the way, if you converse with someone and you know the disc and you know personality styles, you can very easily pick up, you know, they speak, like the questions you're asking is very analytical. It's just how, you know, it's an analytical processing. An expressive person is not going to ask questions like that because they don't think that way. But yeah, you need to absolutely, when you take the disc test and whenever you're giving the disc test to someone, you need to tell them, dude, when you read these questions, you need to make decisions not based on who you want to be or who you think is good for the job. You want to answer as who you are. And you don't want to necessarily think about work. You want to think about your personal life. So this is in relation to your personal life and it's in relation to your business, both. Teresa?
So I think you already spoke on this, but could you remind us what the difference between the Tony Robbins test and the Wise Hire link that you send us when we join Circle? What's like the difference between those two?
Yeah, the Wise Hire is similar to the one we used to give in paper, which gives a graph, and we can see exactly where your D, I, S, and C is on the graph, like how much percentage you have on each of those attributes. Okay, and so that's very important. Now, on the Tony Robbins is not really showing you the disc where you are, but it tells you which style you are. Okay,
yeah.
So and they have different styles, and I have a website that explains exactly which style is which on the disc. So what I want you guys to do, if you wish, we can also add this to your homework. You go to tonyrobbins.com/disc and you take that test.
I have the Tony Robbins one. I couldn't find the other one, the one that you sent us the link for when we join. And the Tony Robbins one says I'm an I.
Because you are. You are so I that is I believable. You are super expressive and emotional.
I need like 10% of your expressiveness.
Yeah. Wilfredo is very amiable. He's also a little bit of a, you know, with the things you're doing, Wilfredo, you're also a driver,
Yeah,
which are kind of the opposites. But you're very soft-spoken. You're not like, driving it like, but you're also a driver, like in your business. This is what I'm saying, guys. There is some versatility in every profile. For example, if Wilfredo, if he needs to be a driver for his business to succeed, he will be the driver. Does it mean that Wilfredo is naturally a driver? No, he's naturally his natural being. In a comfortable situation, in an uncomfortable situation, who will become a driver? Myself, I'm a driver. But when I'm uncomfortable, I'm not a driver anymore. I become analytical. If I have pressure on me, I will start analyzing. I would look at the graphs. I would study the numbers. I'm not going to make a quick decision. I'll slow down my decision process and I will become more analytical. But if my business needs something, I will be the super driver. Like, let's call now. Let's make what do we need? 50 contacts. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. That's the driver. But when there's pressure and something really important going on, I'm going to slow that driver down and I'll become more the analytical. So everybody has this. And some of us don't. Some of us are like, dude, I'm expressive all across the way. I don't care when, and I'm just expressive. And you can't change and you don't need to. That's the beauty about it. You are who you are and you're beautiful just the way you are. You don't need to change one iota. None of you. It doesn't mean that a driver can be more successful than analytical. It's not really the truth. I had a guy in my office who used to be, when I was with Keller Williams at the beginning, this guy was the MCA. Do you remember, James, do you remember David Leon?
Oh,
was
David?
The MCA. Then they built a team, him and the wife. The wife was a driver, expressive. The husband was a super analytical, amiable. And they became superstars. And when you study, he was the one doing the listing presentations. I would say she should be the one, but no, it was him. And this guy was so like the highest level of analytical and amiable, and he became super successful. So you don't need to be a driver. You don't need to be expressive. You don't need to be anyone that you're not. You need to be who you are. You need to understand who you are. And then you need to know who you're not and how to become this person in a presentation, or how to allow this person to feel comfortable with you, with your style in a presentation. How to reduce your style to a point that it's not felt as much so that they can make a positive decision about you and choosing you as the real estate agent. Homework. So for the homework, I just need to share this a different screen with you, and we're going to look into the first portion of the presentation. By the way, anyone here has a presentation? I don't think based on your answers, but I'm going to ask anyway. Any of you has, where is what I'm looking for? Oh, it should be here. Yeah. All right. So you downloaded the listing presentation, which is this page. I mean, this is the listing presentation, the entire thing. Homework, and what you guys need to role play right now. So you need to role play the pre-qualifying script. Okay, the pre-qualifying script is what you need to role play. And I'm just going a little bit over the time. Normally, I'm not going to do that. I'm going over just because we didn't get to it and we had a long beginning today. So I'm just summarizing, and I want to give you some homework because you need to do homework until we meet next time. So if you didn't take the disc, go to Tony Robbins and take it. If you want to take the Wise Hire, I need to find a way for you to do that. So I got to get back to you on that. But try to take Tony Robbins and then bring it to next week. And then I will bring in the info that you need to determine where is the DISC on that profile. And I can tell you which profile you have by next week. So you want to do that. Number one, that's number one homework. Number two, this script that you see here, there is a way to study and memorize a script. Because this portion is never going to be done face-to-face unless you're door knocking, and you're not. We're not talking about that right now. So this is going to be done over the phone. And because it's done over the phone, I don't need you guys to memorize it. You just need to get comfortable with it. So I'm not going to let you handwrite and chant and do all these different things, but I want you guys to use this script this week with your role play partner. I want you to book yourself for a role play session. Minimum 5 days a week, okay? And it's best if you do this first thing in the morning. The challenge for you, James, and I believe for Suzanne, maybe you want to role play with Suzanne, but hey, if you go on the Role Play Club on Facebook, you will also find people from the West Coast that you can role play with. I want you guys to have a role play partner every day, at least one per day, okay? And you want to practice this particular script, okay? Name, before our meeting on Tuesday, I need to ask you a few important questions to make sure I can help you get the best possible price in the least amount of time. Would that be okay with you? And then you go ahead and you ask the questions. When you role play, you're going to role play this one. And then your role play partner is going to role play whatever they want. If you're role playing in the group and you will see each other on the group on Facebook, you can obviously do this particular script. If not, okay, Suzanne is from Missouri, I got you. All right, I mean, you guys will find role play partners based on what's available. I would recommend you guys to role play before you begin your day, not in the afternoon and evening. It's best because your mind is fresh in the morning and you will use it better. So start role playing. And then next week, tell us about your experience role-playing. We will also do some role-playing sessions while we are in session when we finish all the theoretical stuff at part one. So part two will be a lot of role-playing sessions while we're here in session. So homework, do the disc. When you're done with the disc, email it to admin@ranbiderman.com. So do the disc. If you already know what your profile is not necessary, but if you are discovering right now or rediscovering your profile with the Tony Robbins one, do it and email it to me to admin@ranbiderman.com. And then use this script to role play with a partner between now and next Tuesday. So you need to do 5 times. You're talking about tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Monday. And obviously, you can do it also with people that are not in the role play club. So you can just pick anyone and role play this with them. All right. Any questions?
Ran, when we role play, do we just do it on the phone or do we do a Zoom?
Or you can do Zoom. if it's more convenient for you. I would definitely say that the preference is Zoom because you want to be in front of people. This particular portion of the script is done over the phone. So it's also okay to do it over the phone. Or if you want to be on Zoom without a camera, it's also fine. For this particular one, when we start, like next time when we meet, the homework will go to the first part of the presentation. That's definitely better to do on a Zoom, one-on-one on Zoom with a video, because you want to look at each other. And when you start looking at each other next week, you will start also mimicking. Oh, number 3 homework. You need to mimic everybody. You sit for dinner, you go to lunch, you do whatever, you need to mimic people. You meet with people on Zoom, start mimicking how they sit. Like right now, I need to sit like James. So I'm going to change myself and I'm going to be more like this. Right? Mimicking. And then I will nod my head the way he's doing it. Right? Or I'm going to sit like, so you need to, yeah, you need to even
Where's
get
your
like,
smile? Where's your smile, man?
dude, I can't smile like you. And then, you know, if you see someone else close to the camera, you want to get closer to the camera. If you see them sitting all the way back here, you sit all the way back here. Like just being aware of what's happening on the other side will already make you a better presenter. So do the homework and I'll see you guys next Tuesday at 9 a.m.
Thank you.
Have a
Awesome.
good week, everybody.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and I'll post my availability, and if anybody's interested in role playing, on the Facebook group.
Perfect.
But you know, hopefully we'll get some role playing going.
You will. Worst case scenario, you wake up at 5 a.m., 4:30.
Yeah, I'm up already that time. So.
All right.
Cool. Thanks, Ran. That was an excellent presentation in class.